Have you ever felt as if, in the blink of an eye, the world around you had subtly shifted, leaving you with a sense that something fundamental had changed without your noticing? What if these changes were more than mere coincidences or perception flaws, but as if you were constantly shifting between different realities without even realizing it? Parallel realities are not a concept reserved only for science fiction. They are part of a vast field of study that quantum physics explores, revealing the possibility of infinite versions of reality coexisting at the same time. But how does this affect your life? Well, perhaps in a much more direct way than many imagine. Every decision, every thought, and every emotion can create an imperceptible shift, a path that leads you to a new version of yourself and the world around you. Often these transitions are subtle, almost unnoticeable, but sometimes they can be so profound that they completely challenge your understanding of what is real. Understanding the nature of parallel realities is recognizing that the present is not fixed, but fluid, moldable. The version of you that is here now may not be the same as it was a minute ago, and it is in this constant movement that the power of transformation lies. A shift in your perception can completely change the direction of your life, aligning you with a higher version of yourself. So how do these realities manifest in your daily life? And more importantly, how can you identify if you've already shifted to a new reality? Today, you will discover the signs that you've shifted to a parallel reality. Perhaps you've already moved into another reality without even noticing. The deeper you dive into this topic, the more you will start to realize that the very essence of your life may be shaped by these invisible changes, constantly pushing you toward your true potential. If everything around you can change so subtly that you hardly notice, what is really happening with your reality? The idea of parallel realities might sound complex, but at its core, it suggests that life is not linear. Instead, we are constantly navigating different versions of reality, shaped by our choices, thoughts, and emotions. Imagine your life as a vast ocean of possibilities. Each wave represents a new version of your reality. As you make decisions, these waves reorganize themselves, creating a new path. This path can be almost identical to the previous one or completely different. What defines this transition is the state of our consciousness, and often we only become aware of the change once it has already taken place. To understand these subtle shifts more deeply, we can turn to quantum physics, which provides a powerful analogy for how these transitions might occur. Essentially, it teaches us that the universe is made up of probabilities. Every event, every choice, generates a series of probabilities that may or may not manifest in the reality you are currently living in. In simple terms, what you perceive as your present is just one version of an infinite number of possible realities. When you wake up in the morning and decide to change a habit, for example, you may be laying the foundation for a transition between realities. However, this transition does not manifest abruptly. It is subtle, almost like the shift from one scene to another in a movie. This is where the concept of continuity comes in. Just like a film reel is made up of individual frames which, when projected at high speed, create the illusion of continuous motion, your life also seems like a linear sequence of events. But in reality, every second you are moving through different frames of reality. What maintains this illusion of continuity is your mind, which connects these fragmented moments and interprets them as a cohesive narrative. These constant transitions are natural, and often you experience them without even realizing it. For example, when you notice a small change in your environment, something is out of place, an object seems to be in a slightly different position from where you left it. You may have, in fact, shifted into a new reality. These seemingly insignificant changes may be subtle signs that you are moving between these parallel realities. And although these transitions may seem small, their impact on your life can be profound. Understanding this concept is crucial to realizing just how much you can truly shape your own experience. You are not merely a passive observer of reality. On the contrary, you are an active creator, always influencing the different realities unfolding around you. Every choice you make, no matter how insignificant it may seem, has the power to move you into a new line of reality. But this understanding leads to a fundamental question. If we are always moving between these realities, how can we use this power for our personal evolution? How can we align with the version of ourselves we truly want to be? On this path of self-discovery, learning to identify these moments of transition can be the first step toward consciously transforming your reality. If you pay attention to the small details in your life, you may begin to notice that from time to time, something seems out of place. Perhaps you are absolutely certain where you left your keys, but suddenly you find them in a different place. Or maybe there's that inexplicable feeling that something in your environment has changed, even though at first glance, everything seems the same. These small adjustments in reality may be one of the subtlest signs that you are shifting between different versions of the world around you. These changes, no matter how small, carry a deeper meaning. When a parallel reality comes into play, what seems like a simple discrepancy, something out of place, a feeling of discontinuity, may be a direct reflection of a transition into another line of reality. At that moment, you are no longer exactly where you were before. Imagine your life as a series of paths, each leading to a different version of reality. Destination. Every decision you make, every choice, every emotion you feel is tracing these paths. But some deviations are so small that they go unnoticed, as if you were making slight adjustments in direction without realizing it. But even these micro-adjustments can set you on a completely new course. These movements can be as simple as the feeling of déjà vu, a sense that you've lived that moment before but with a small difference. It's as if you're reliving a slightly different version of the present. Sometimes the changes are so subtle that they only become apparent over time, when you start noticing a series of small alterations in your daily life. Beyond objects out of place, there are moments when you can feel a shift in your own energy. Perhaps you wake up one day with an inexplicable sense of clarity, a renewed sense of purpose, as if suddenly something inside you has aligned. These are signs that something has changed internally, and your external reality is beginning to reflect that change. Recognizing these shifts is the first step to understanding just how much you truly influence your reality. It's not just about noticing a key in a different place. It's about realizing that these small adjustments can be signs of a much larger transformation. These subtle movements are always happening, and the more you become aware of them, the more you can use this awareness to shape your future consciously. By aligning with these changes and recognizing that they indicate a transition, you can start making more conscious choices. Instead of just reacting to the world around you, you become a co-creator of your own reality. This mindfulness of the details helps strengthen your connection to the version of yourself you want to be, making the process of personal development something tangible and present. Observing these small transitions, however, requires more than simple attention. It's necessary to be present and conscious of the moment. Often, we are so immersed in our daily routines that we fail to notice the subtle changes occurring around us. When you start asking yourself, "What is different?" or "Why does this seem out of place?" you begin to open a new door of perception, and that door leads to a deeper understanding of how your reality is always adjusting, shaped by your choices and intentions. As you become more attuned to these signs, you also align more and more with the parallel version of yourself. Every small adjustment in reality is an opportunity for reflection. So when you notice something like this, try to reflect. How does this change reflect who I'm becoming? It's in this state of awareness that the true power of transformation begins to emerge. Sometimes you can remember an event from the past with total clarity, only to discover later that it did not happen exactly as you remembered. This phenomenon, in which memories seem to change shape or adjust in unexpected ways, can be a sign that you have undergone a transition between parallel realities. When we shift to a new reality, our memories may subtly adjust, creating a new narrative of the past that feels familiar but is not exactly the same as it once was. Our memory is not an exact recording of events. In fact, it is highly malleable. The brain, in its adaptive capacity, reconstructs memories every time we access them. This means that every time you recall something, you are potentially altering small details of that memory. What seemed clear and unchangeable can suddenly seem hazy or even different. This is what neuroscience calls brain plasticity, the brain's ability to adapt and change, reorganizing neural connections according to new experiences and information. But this capacity for reconstruction is not just a peculiarity of the human mind. It is also a way of adapting to the new reality in which we find ourselves. When we consider the concept of parallel realities, this takes on a new dimension. If every time you change reality there is a subtle alteration in your lifeline, it makes sense that your memories will also undergo adjustments. That event that seemed clear before may, in a new reality, have different details. What is even more intriguing is that these changes don't happen abruptly. They are so smooth that at first you may not even notice something is different until you confront a new version of that memory. This phenomenon is often related to the idea of false memory, where you are sure something happened a certain way, but when you check, the details are different. A popular example of this effect is the so-called Mandela Effect, where large groups of people remember an event or fact differently from the recorded reality. These divergent memories often create discomfort because they challenge the very notion of continuity and stability. However, this phenomenon is not just a psychological curiosity. It reveals the malleability of our perception. Brain plasticity shows us that our mind is constantly restructuring and reorganizing memories according to our new understanding of reality. This does not mean our memories are false or invalid. It means they are dynamic interpretations shaped both by our own experiences and the current context. These small adjustments could be signs that you are accessing that memory from a new reality, where certain aspects of the past have been reinterpreted or reorganized to align with your current version of yourself. The more you pay attention to these moments, the more evident it becomes how fluid the perception of the past can be. And this transformation happens not just around you, but also within you, adjusting how you connect with your own memories. The big question here is, to what extent is the past you remember fixed? If each new version of reality brings with it new ways of interpreting what has already happened, then what really is the past? By understanding how malleable our memories are, we also realize that we are not prisoners of what we believe has happened. Just as the present is flexible, the past can also be viewed from a new perspective. This understanding gives us power. When we understand this, we can learn to loosen the bonds that the past places on us. Stories of pain, regret, or frustration can be recontextualized. You can free yourself from old narratives that hold you back, knowing that the past you remember may be just one version among many. And just as reality adjusts, you can choose which version of the past you want to carry forward. Moreover, science shows us that when we access memories, we activate specific neural networks. As our consciousness expands and changes, these networks are also modified. Each time we revisit a memory, it is edited based on our current state of being. So the perception of the past becomes a reflection of who we are in the present, not just who we were at the time the event occurred. This realization, that the past can also change as your reality shifts, is truly liberating. It allows you to see your personal history as more fluid, not as something that defines who you are, but as a collection of experiences that can be reinterpreted. And as you evolve and change, your memories follow this process, adapting to your new reality. At certain moments, reality seems to break suddenly, as if something no longer fits the expected sequence of events. These moments of discontinuity, when the normal flow of things seems to shift without logical explanation, can be clear signs that you've shifted into a parallel reality. Moments when something drastic seems to have been avoided by a thread, which often leave us perplexed, as if the very sequence of events had been skipped or adjusted, can also be seen as signs of a shift to a parallel reality. And perhaps on a deeper level, this is exactly what happened. These breaks in continuity are not just coincidences or lapses in perception. They can be signs that, on a quantum level, you've shifted into a new version of reality. A reality where a disaster was avoided, for example. This suggests that when facing a potentially impactful event, your consciousness made a quick transition to a reality where the outcome was different from what initially seemed inevitable. These transitions can happen so suddenly that the mind tries to justify what occurred. You might ask yourself, how did I get out of that situation so quickly? Or, why does this feel so surreal? When confronted with these events, our logical mind may try to find an explanation, but often there is no rational answer that fully satisfies our doubt. This feeling that something is not right may be an indication that you made an abrupt shift between realities, jumping into a line where the tragic or dramatic outcome didn't materialize. These moments of discontinuity are especially common in extreme risk situations, like near accidents or moments of emotional crisis, where the intensity of the event seems to break the usual flow of time. There are stories of people who, in near-death situations, experienced a moment of suspension where time seemed to slow down or stop, and then suddenly everything returned to normal as if nothing dangerous had happened. These episodes can be reflections of quantum transitions to another line of reality. This notion is deeply connected to the understanding that in each parallel reality, different outcomes are possible. In one reality, the accident could have occurred, while in another, you escaped unharmed. When going through moments of great emotional or physical intensity, your consciousness may be in a heightened state of receptivity, which facilitates this transition between realities. What may seem at first glance to be an inexplicable event may actually be a reflection of a shift to a version of your life where the outcome was more favorable. These breaks in continuity can also serve as powerful reminders. Every decision you make, every emotion you feel, and every choice you encounter traces a path, like small adjustments in direction that often go unnoticed. Yet, even the most subtle deviations can lead you to a completely new destination. These movements can manifest as a feeling of déjà vu, as if you're reliving a moment slightly differently, or perhaps as a series of small but noticeable changes in your daily life. Beyond objects out of place, you might experience shifts in your own energy, waking up one day with an inexplicable sense of clarity or a renewed sense of purpose, as if something inside you has realigned. These subtle shifts reflect a larger internal transformation, and as your internal world changes, so does your external reality. Recognizing these shifts is the first step in understanding just how much you influence your reality. It's not just about noticing something small is different. It's about understanding these micro-adjustments as signals of deeper transformation. The more aware you become of these subtle changes, the more you can use this awareness to consciously shape your future. By aligning yourself with these changes and recognizing them as transitions, you gain the ability to make more intentional choices. Instead of reacting to the world around you, you start becoming a co-creator of your own reality. The details of life, when observed mindfully, strengthen your connection to the version of yourself that you want to be. This practice of observing transitions requires more than simple attention. It demands being present and conscious in the moment. Often we're so caught up in routine that we fail to notice these subtle changes around us. But when you begin asking, "What's different here?" or "Why does this seem out of place?" you open a door to deeper perception. That doorway leads to a greater understanding of how your reality constantly adjusts, shaped by your choices and intentions. As you become more attuned to these signs, you begin to align with the parallel version of yourself. Each small adjustment becomes an opportunity for reflection. So when you notice something different, something that seems off, ask yourself, how does this change reflect who I'm becoming? This state of awareness marks the beginning of true transformation. Sometimes you may recall a memory with total clarity, only to realize later that it didn't happen exactly as you remembered. This phenomenon, where memories shift and adjust, is a sign that you may have transitioned between parallel realities. Each time we access a memory, it's reconstructed by the brain, which means that memories are constantly evolving. What once seemed clear and unchangeable can suddenly feel hazy or different. This is called brain plasticity, the brain's ability to adapt and reorganize neural connections based on new experiences and information. But this isn't just a quirk of the mind. It's a way of adapting to a new reality. When you think about parallel realities, it's not surprising that with each shift, memories subtly adjust to fit the new reality. What you remember from the past may not align perfectly with the present because your mind has reinterpreted the past to fit this new version of yourself. The Mandela Effect, where large groups of people remember events differently from recorded history, is a striking example. It's more than a psychological curiosity. It reveals the malleability of perception. Your mind constantly restructures memories to align with your evolving reality, which means your past is not set in stone. The more you pay attention to these shifts, the more fluid your perception of the past becomes. This understanding can be freeing, as it allows you to view your past from a new perspective. You are not bound by old narratives of pain, regret, or frustration. Knowing that your memories are flexible allows you to reshape your personal history. Each time you access a memory, you activate specific neural networks. As your consciousness expands and evolves, these networks also adapt. Every time you revisit a memory, it's edited based on who you are now, not just who you were when the event occurred. This fluidity allows you to break free from the past and embrace a new reality. At times, reality seems to break, as if something no longer fits the expected flow of events. These moments of discontinuity, when the normal sequence of events shifts without explanation, are often signs that you've transitioned into a parallel reality. When something drastic is avoided, leaving you feeling perplexed, it's as if the sequence of events was skipped or adjusted. On a quantum level, your consciousness may have shifted into a reality where the outcome was different. For example, in one reality, an accident could have occurred, but in another, you escaped unharmed. In moments of heightened emotional or physical intensity, your consciousness is more receptive to these transitions. What might seem like an inexplicable event could be a reflection of a shift into a more favorable version of your life. These breaks in continuity remind us that reality isn't as fixed as we might think. The rigidity we often attribute to our everyday experience may be just an illusion. When these shifts occur, they challenge us to reevaluate our beliefs about what is real and what is possible. If you can shift to a reality where something tragic was avoided, what else might you change or influence in your life? Instead of fearing or dismissing these moments, we can see them as portals to new possibilities. Recognizing the subtle signs of transitioning between realities, like small adjustments in daily life or changes in your perception of the past, opens up a new dimension of understanding. The question is, what will you do with this knowledge? When you realize that reality is fluid and that time and events are not set in stone, life becomes a field of infinite possibilities. You are no longer a passive observer, but an active creator of your destiny. One powerful way to shape your reality is through visualization. By imagining the ideal version of yourself, you create a mental map that guides your actions and behaviors. This practice is more than positive thinking. It's a tool for creation. Your brain begins to create new neural networks that reflect this image of yourself, making that ideal version more tangible. Visualization, combined with consistent daily habits, helps reinforce this new reality. Small, intentional actions accumulate over time, shifting your perception and eventually your external world. Emotions are powerful guides in this process, showing you whether you are aligned with the reality you desire. Life is a continuous cycle of transformation, and each shift brings you closer to the person you want to be. The more aware you are of these transitions, the more you can direct them to align with your goals and desires. Embracing change as a natural part of growth brings peace, as you learn to accept moments of discontinuity as opportunities for recalibration. The power to choose your reality lies in understanding that life is a constant flow. You are always shaping your world with your thoughts, emotions, and actions. By becoming aware of this process, you free yourself from the feeling of powerlessness and step into the role of creator. Each day, with every choice, you can align yourself more closely with the ideal version of yourself. As you do, the world around you will begin to adjust to reflect this new reality.